any passports in airports. And the possibilities goes on. Many of the conventional jobs will be replaced, but there will be new opportunities will be arising. Today, we live the fourth industrial revolution. Our systems are interconnected. Information sharing, harmonization, and interoperability are essential in order to ensure the sustainability of air transportation system. The aviation system will be many data driven, and automation and artificial intelligence are not new subject to aviation industry. Based on this note, I will showcase an introductory video on AI. Video please.
We're entering aviation's next era, autonomous flight.
It's a robot that's connected to the controls.
Exactly.
Planes, helicopters, drones, making decisions on their own.
And you don't think a pilot could do it better?
Just like in playing chess, the robot will do it better.
A fierce competition is underway to achieve safe, autonomous flight.
It's a race, right?
Absolutely.
A race to what?
Who owns the skies 50 years from now?
Military powers are embracing this technology, revolutionizing combat. Flying robots could be fighting each other in the sky, raising fears that this tech could fall into the wrong hands.
I imagine there are terrorists who would love to have this technology.
Yes,
Does that worry you?
that worries me a lot.
On the horizon, autonomous flight and fight.
Watching the introductory video, and now I'd like to welcome the panelists for the discussion on artificial intelligence in aviation industry. The first panelist on board, Mr. Talal Al-Hamadi, Vice President, Air Traffic Development, Dubai Air Navigation System. In his capacity, I would like to give a brief bio of Mr. Talal Al-Hamadi. In his capacity as the Vice President of Air Traffic Development in DANS, Talal leads the Airspace Management Division that is responsible for delivering high-level strategic projects that transforms the aviation sector in the UAE as the Airspace Restructuring Project and RECAT, in addition to airspace and procedure designs. The launch of Airspace Management Cell and the Airspace Procedure Design involved to commence Emirates Flight Training Academy are some of the examples that Talal and his team have created and implemented in the organization. Prior to joining DANS in 2015, Talal has been the head of airspace coordination in the General Civil Aviation Authority for 11 years since 2004. In addition to the profound experience Talal has acquired throughout the mesmerizing career in the aviation, he has also served several posts as a police officer with Sharjah Police over a period of 8 years from 1996 to 2003. On behalf of Organizing Committee of ICCIKE and Amity University Dubai, I welcome Mr. Talal Al-Hamadi to this panel discussion. Give him a big round of applause. The second panelist on board, Alia Al-Masmi, Engineer Remote Sensing Application Unit of Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center. I welcome Alia to this panel. Engineer Alia Al-Masmi received her Bachelor's degree of Science in Communication Engineering from Khalifa University, and she is currently working as a remote sensing application engineer in Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center, United Arab Emirates. The Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center builds and operates Earth observation satellites, offering imaging and data analysis services to clients around the world. Her area of interest focuses on object detection using deep learning, geophysical satellite image application, and remote sensing image processing. She has also developed many more remote sensing applications that process remotely sensed data. The developed applications enable generating geographic information from satellite or airborne sensor data for Earth observation. She published many research papers in the field of remote sensing applications, which are published in the various prestigious journals. I welcome Engineer Alia to the panel on behalf of ICCIKE and Amity University, Dubai. Our third panelist today is Ms. Maria Nunes, CEO of Smear Consulting from Portugal. Please, Ms. Maria. Ms. Maria has been a consultant for more than 25 years and has an extensive experience in various business sectors such as utilities, government, aviation, and other IT sectors. Maria had completed her postgraduate master degree in data protection, privacy, and cybersecurity in European Union, and also holds a postgraduate master degree in information security standards and IAPP for data protection officer certification. Maria is a founder and CEO of Smear Consulting. The main goal and mission of Smear Consulting is to help leading drones ecosystem companies to ensure a stronger enforcement of rules, increased competitive advantage, diminishing security incidents, protection of the organization reputation, as well as the ability to attract investors through representing legal compliance and implementation of security and safety procedure. I welcome Ms. Maria to this fascinating panel. This exciting panel will not be completed without our fourth panelist, Mr. Jeffrey Lau. I welcome Mr. Jeffrey Lau to this panel. And Mr. Jeffrey is an experienced business development manager with a demonstrated history of working in the oil and energy industry. He is highly skilled in petroleum, aviation, business planning, and management. Jeffrey is currently the business development and operation director in Aerodyne Middle East. He is responsible for setting up and the operations of Aerodyne in Middle East and China regions. Aerodyne is a global artificial intelligence-driven drone-based total managed solutions company, providing digital transformation solutions through the use of drones, AI, sensors, and analytics, and supported by a crew of over 300 aero rangers comprising qualified analysts, pilots, developers, and engineers. Aerodyne is present in over around 20 countries, including Middle East, UK, US, China, India, Malaysia, and Japan. He also assists the group in growing Aerodyne's regional partnership and manage project operations and technology development across the oil and gas, power, unmanned aerial vehicles, renewable energy, and telecommunication sector. Once again, I welcome you to this amazing panel. Before starting the session, I'll go back to my memory lane, which you have seen in the introductory video about the advantages of AI. But you all are aware about the Ethiopian Boeing 737 incident, which is a pitfall of AI. That is the drawback of MCAC system that you have already seen in the recent era. So I hope AI has its own advantages as well as its own disadvantages in the industry. To begin with our discussion, I shall ask a few generic questions which would like to hear a response from experts like you. My first question to the panel: how do you see AI influencing the aerospace industry in UAE in the coming years? To begin with, I would like to ask Alia.
Okay, so the aerospace industry will definitely has a lot of impact in terms of AI. Different professions definitely will change. However, it's not the question who's most affected or least affected. It's about, are these professions going to adopt the change with the existence of AI? Are they going to adopt these changes into their careers? Or, for example, they're going to use the old same methodologies. It's different. However, for example, people in or professions in the science, technology, or STEM in general, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, perhaps they have robust in terms of economical change. So it will change. It's just the question of how these professions and how the economy will adapt with the change of the AI.
I hope she has covered certain areas which we have not been taken care, because nowadays the STEM technology is going ahead and we are also adopting the STEM and STEAM in our curriculum to enhance the students in the AI fields. So shall I hear from you, Mr. Thala?
Okay. In the aviation industry?
Yep.
It's a little bit hard question. We believe in a different side in the aviation industry. We do not believe that AI will replace air traffic controllers. If we are talking about air traffic control, there are many sides in the aviation. There is the engineering side, there is the air traffic control and air management side, and then the support side. The support function, definitely, I think it will disappear with AI. But air traffic control, especially with the incidents that is happening, or sorry, that happened, we think AI will work with human hand to hand, meaning enhance the human capability, but not replacing the human element itself. We believe also that many jobs will disappear from the aviation industry and will become, I said it in our panel discussion, we will become like a data entry, more of a data entry for the machine learning. That hopefully that answered the question from the aviation side.
Exactly, and I'll come back to the incident which happened to in the Dubai airport later on.
Okay.
Ms. Maria, what is your perspective on this? It's on.
Yes. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. About the question about AAE and the impact that can be here. For example, yesterday it rained and the traffic was awful, and I think that, for example, drones and all the data that is captured in the traffic can be a good help for increase the good way of the traffic. Is one example how the drones and all that technology can help cities like with these issues. About the jobs, I think that some careers, and I agree with what was telling. Of course, some jobs and careers disappear, like the photographer already disappear. Everybody is taking photos and nobody goes to the shops. So it will be the same. In the aerospace and in the case of drones, we have already drones without pilots. So I think that is the way. It's not only in the Middle East, Europe is the same. They are parallels, in some ways more advanced, in some ways not, but it's the same.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jeffrey, your call on this.
Okay, so we are a drone service operator. We fly drones for commercial operations. So we started from the manual way of flying and also doing the inspection work. So we really see AI as a key enabler to optimize our various process. For instance, drones are not fully autonomous yet. By autonomous, it means it's fully self-governing. It can have own sensors, its own feelings, But we still control drones to a very large extent. So actually, the purpose of our AI is to make the whole process faster, safer, cheaper, and better. So one of the ways that AI can really help is to develop the machine visioning for the drones. So drones are able to see, are able to fly, and able to chart its own flight plan. For example, you mentioned about the weather. Perhaps there's a weather coming, a severe weather coming. It can adjust its plan, or it can decide to fly down. So we see AI as a key complementary resource to our human intelligence, in doing analytics or optimizing the process.
Thank you, Jeffrey. And UAE government has a great strategy on artificial intelligence, and it covers around 8 areas, which includes transportation, health, renewable energy, space sector, education, and traffic, especially in UAE region. And I should appreciate the far-sighted vision of the rulers of this country on artificial intelligence, and they would like to have fully autonomous, that's something called as brain. That is the name which is given for the UAE for this particular vision. Now I'll move more specifically to the experts, and to begin with, I shall hear from you, Talal. Dubai being the world's busiest airport for last 5 consecutive years, how DANS utilizes AI in their daily operations.
Okay. Currently, as I said, in the airspace industry or in the air navigation industry, we do not utilize AI in the meaning of AI. It's all a machine learning process right now. So, for example, I will take the weather, for example. So what we are doing currently is developing, this way I will give out the project actually, but it's okay. Okay, so we are developing a machine and feeding it with historical data of weather. Nearly 20 years now we have weather data in Dubai. We have it for 20 years. So we are feeding the machine with that. We are constantly feeding the machine in order for this machine to give us the perfect or the most suitable scenarios for the air traffic control. Meaning that if we have, like the weather yesterday, for example, what is the most currently air traffic controller is a typical air traffic controller. He will see the weather over here, and he will try to avoid the weather, or some pilots will ask to avoid the weather. But what we are thinking is that this machine will give him the best option to optimize the airspace. We are not still reached to that stage. I mean, it's like a guidance tool still. It needs a lot of developing, a lot of testing. People are scared of using the technology. I mean, in case of incidents, there are many rules that bind the air traffic control. What else can I say? I mean, basically that's That's it. There are several projects that don't want to talk about. Some of them are confidential in their matter. We are trying to cooperate also with some universities. Maybe we'll cooperate with this university, hopefully, in future to develop some of the softwares. If you want the end goal, okay, my end goal, I'm not speaking now Dan's wise. The end goal, and we discuss it with an entity here in Dubai. I cannot mention the name now until we actually set all the ground foundation. As you know, the airspace is segmented in two parts. Okay, there is the en route part, which is the high-level overflyers, what we call them, and then there is the approach, and then there is the tower, which clear the aircraft to land, clear the aircraft for takeoff. The new project is all these systems need to talk to each other. Now it's all independent systems. All these systems need to talk to each other in order to give the final final air traffic controller the most suitable sequence for the aircraft to land more aircraft safely, efficiently. Plus, what we've discussed is to enhance the capability of the air traffic controller in the tower. Now, there is a project, many projects called digital towers, where you have all screens in front of you. We don't leave screens, to be honest. What we are seeking is some kind of enhancement in front of the air traffic controller eyes, meaning if he wear, for example, Google glasses, and it will give
reality and the virtual reality.
So to combine augmented reality, yes, exactly.
Just to inform you that we have last week we had a discussion with the GCAA authorities from Dubai, and we are tying up with them for certain kind of a project on augmented reality and AI perspective on their air crash investigation perspective.
Air crash investigation. Okay, it's a little bit different when you come to air traffic control. What we know, well, actually, what we've discussed internally is that if you wear those glasses, you will have nearly a 60-inch screen in front of you. Yeah. So in that 60-inch screen, what you can provide for the air traffic controller, what kind of guidance you can provide. Maybe detecting drones, you can have it in those glasses, seeing aircraft far away, giving the most suitable routes for the aircraft to taxi out and taxi in, the parkings for the aircraft, instead of the controller looking in the machine or on paper. All of this will change in future. So that's basically it.
Thank you, Talal, and I hope my students from aerospace engineering and computer science students, you can have these kinds of that.
So basically, in Mohammed Bourash Space Center in the remote sensing department, we deals with satellite imagery, and recently we have utilized the deep learning and the machine learning. It's a part of the artificial intelligence. To give you a little bit of a background about deep learning, it's basically it's a part of the bigger family, which is machine learning. Utilizes the neural network algorithms, many historical data to give an idea of the thing that you want to extract. So basically in satellite imagery, we have been utilizing the deep learning in terms of, for example, of object detection and counting. We have natural disaster management, such as tropical storms, fire hazards. We also utilize it in land cover, land map classification to differentiate between different type of surfaces, for example, land, ocean, vegetation, building, utilizing the deep learning. This application has a lot of benefits on the governmental and non-governmental, a lot of entities. They are requesting, for example, for these type of applications, especially from satellite imagery, because they give a better accuracy, higher performance. Of course, when utilizing the GPU, it gives you some sort of automation instead of utilizing the old methodologies. So the old methodologies, basically when you extract features in sort of the size, the color, the texture of the object. However, the deep learning will give you the opportunity to automate these processes. We have been involved with many universities now as internships, as senior design projects. One of the senior design projects we have is detecting the underground water, utilizing different types of remote sensing satellites, either from the ones from Hamad Bourash Space Center, you might heard about Khalifa Sat, or other type of satellites such as SAR, which is type of radar satellite. Combining all these type of satellites have the opportunity to work within the deep learning as well for object detection and landmap classification.
Thank you, Alia, and I'm sure some of my students have completed their research works in the LST, NDVI, vegetation analysis and water analysis about the data of around 10 years from now. My students from aerospace engineering have completed, and we have something around 12 publications on this particular area.
The historical data is very important for the sake of forecasting.
Yes.
You can predict
and to understand the trends in this region.
Exactly. So for example, if you have a historical data, for example, let's say of 12, 10 years or 20 years, that can be very useful of predicting the behavior, for example, of the vegetation, where it will expand, or the water, or even the weather forecasting. So having these type of historical data, you can take the analysis even further in the prediction type of analysis.
Be higher. Yep. Thank you, Alia. And sharing the same domain, we would like to hear from Jeffrey and Ms. Maria. This is a little bit odd, but still, what is your insight on the implementation of urban air mobility in Middle Eastern region?
So, urban mobility, it's something that has been talked for the last years, but it's something that is very sensitive because the cities are complex, the buildings, the people, and the technology is quite insecure yet. So, but I think the innovation never stop, and it will be the moment, more 3 or 4 years, we will see drones and fly taxis in the cities. Probably not for all of us, because will be not so cheap. It will be expensive, and in this time exist several projects and pilots here in the Middle East and Europe too. Testing, it's like the automobile vehicles, autonomous is the same. They are testing because the flying taxis have people inside, so it's a risk. Must be very, very tested until we have all that kind of things. Another thing that is very important is to put the roads in the cities. The drones or the flying taxis are not able to fly everywhere. I think the rules must be fixed, but it will be a reality. It's like
it will be difficult for
in the fields we saw that a lot 10 years ago, and we thought that, oh no, it's crazy, but it will be everything. It's my opinion, but
I think Dubai has already implemented the air taxi, and it's been exhibited for Expo 2020.
Yes.
Yep.
But it will grow.
Grow up.
Probably it's not a number of taxis. It's 10, 20, but
sure.
It sure be
Jeffrey, your call.
Yeah.
I think from a drone delivery point of view, it's already established and developed method. In Amazon has tested it. Local e-commerce company is also testing drone delivery. It's already a method that's proven. I mean, drones can carry anything from like 1 to 2 kilo to 5 kilo, you know, to maybe even 50 kilo, depending on the type of aircraft that you use. So there are different types of aircraft. It can be the multi-rotor, it can be the fixed wing, it can be also the vertical takeoff landing. What we see in terms of the commercialization process, you know, of a new use case and application, it always go through a phase. So you have to first prove it. You have to go through a proof of concept. All right, and then you have to show it to different stakeholders, you know, and the regulators, the end users, you know, the technology provider, even the software developers. Everyone has to work hand in hand together, you know, to prove that the solution actually works and it is safe and easy to use. What we see is that in terms of adaptation in the market in the short term, most of these drone operations will likely occur on a flight-specific mission. So you won't see a full market scale, mass scale adaptation of the use case. It requires a lot of components to come together. So if you want to see like many drones flying, you need an unmanned traffic management system. All right, you need a UAV traffic management system, which is a collection of like beacons, radar, flight management services, communication system, and server to manage, to organize, to direct, to coordinate the traffic. So we are still a bit of distance away, but what I see is you can see use case coming to the market to prove the concept, and then across time you see a more active adaptation of the particular technology.
Thank you, Jeffrey, and I think it will be a tough time for Talal and his team to implement urban air mobility soon in UAE. Coming back to Alia, how do you deploy artificial intelligence, especially in remote sensing, and how it helps your work easier?
Okay, so this is a general tip for anyone who's interested in the field of AI and deep learning. The first thing that we need, there are two main things that we need in the field of deep learning. The first thing is you need to have little skills in practical programming, such as C++ or Python. You need also to know a general information about, for example, machine learning and mathematics. You have these two, you can open your mind in so many deep learning applications. Moreover, since the GPU manufacturing has been accelerated very fast in the past few years, utilizing the GPU capabilities that you have in your advanced PCs that also help in the deep learning field. So when you have this, of course, there are a lot of ready materials there that you can utilize, for example, in your university and in the schools to start with. You don't have to start from zero all over. So we need to have these skills before utilizing the deep learning. So once we have these skills, we have satellite imagery data. And satellite imagery data, you have it free ones, for example, like the Landsat, or for example, the Sentinel images, where you can basically anything you can see it with your eyes, you can train your PC to detect these objects automatically. We are also welcoming university collaborations. If you have any ideas and you would like to utilize, for example, Dubai-Sat 2 images or Khalifa-Sat images, we also welcome these collaborations. So having these skills will enable to utilize and deploy the machine learning in satellite imagery. As I mentioned before, it has a lot of applications. There are so many objects that you can detect, for example, airplanes, ships, electric towers, buildings, streets, which has a lot of benefits in so many entities within the UAE, even internationally.
We have two projects on AI, basically on the drones. That is, one is a facial detection system for criminal chasing. We have submitted the proposal to Dubai Police and Customs. And second one is about drones, which is used to detect the foreign object debris in airspace. That is also based on Python, and my students have submitted for Aero Innovation Award last year. So I think they could approach to you or the Mohammed bin Rashid
Definitely.
Space Center to improve their projects. And
I mean, image is an image. You take it, for example, from drone, or you take it from satellite. From wherever you take it, it has its own benefit. For example, the drone offers a very spectacular high resolution up to sub-centimeter, which nowadays we cannot find in satellite. However, satellite might give you a very high coverage, for example, the drone cannot offer. However, the beauty of this is when you combine these data together. So if you take data from drones, if you take data from satellites, here where you can maximize your application using the deep learning, taking data from different type of satellites and different type of payloads within the drone, and fuse these data will have a bigger opportunity in these such an applications.
thank you, Alia. Again, to Ms. Marie and Jeffrey, being a hobbyist, I find very difficult in stabilizing the drones. Being this area is more prone to sandstorms and unpredictable weather conditions. How you could use AI in stabilizing drones? What's your perspective on this, Jeffrey?
Currently, in terms of flight operations, drones are already equipped with a lot of redundant accelerometers, gyrometers, IMUs, to keep the trajectory in check. So that it can auto-stabilize, and also take the pictures in a very stable manner. What AI could really do is to give it extra intelligence, For example, there are unforeseen environmental or weather obstacle, It can immediately feed that information and give it the chance to actually decide whether it would continue on this particular flight path, or it want to adjust, or it has to land, actually, to a safe location.
Thank you, Jeffrey. And Ms. Maria?
I have the same opinion, because I take decision, but decision with the major successful objective. So the AI and combined with the 5G, probably in the desert, I don't know if it is possible or to be possible, it can change the route, and because predicted that the wind comes, or can display some cover and land, something like that. It's not only established, it's decide if it is better or not.
So you
to
suggest
continue.
that we could, on the flight path itself, we could implement these technologies to stabilize the drones. On the same note, coming back to the aviation industry, Talal, I believe this is a tough question, but still, the Dubai airport has been closed not once but thrice on the account of having drones entering into the airspace. What challenge do you currently face in being able to detect these drones before they enter the airspace as a navigation expert?
Okay. Dubai airport been closed 3 times. Yeah, everybody knows about that. It's because of drones. The issue we face is not with known drones. Okay, known drones. We have a different project for known drones. We have the UTM coming up soon, which we believe it should work hand to hand with the ATM, where you will control the normal flying drones. These are unauthorized drones, and there is a big issue with it. I mean, the problem is that the regulation, we still have no regulation, or we have regulation, but I mean, it's a little bit vague currently. So, for example, in case of any drone detection, you should close the airspace, because the circle around the drone is what aviation, what the regulation says. The circle around the drone should be 10 nautical miles. But what we did is try to prove by safety case to reduce the safe zone around the drone up to 3 nautical miles. We've also tried to enter the pilots into our decision making. Aircraft have their own radars. It's not called radars, but they have their own radars, and they can detect drones better than us. For us, radars do not detect these drones. The problem, we tried geofencing, you name it. The issue is there, and for me, honestly, I don't see a solution currently, unless if the industry, we've been talking about it just a couple of hours, 1 hour ago, maybe the industry come up with some kind of a detection or a safe zoning for the airports, not for the drones not to enter. That's it.
I hope Maria will be having certain slide on this particular geofencing and geospoofing, so that will help us to understand more detail about how radio frequency drone will help us to detect this kind of intrusion into the airspace.
There are jamming.
Yep.
There is the jamming mechanism.
RF jamming.
Yeah, but I mean, again, the RF jamming will create other issues for other. Yeah.
Even
exactly.
when we commissioned our ground station here, we face a lot of trouble with our radio frequency signal.
Yeah, radio
to
frequency.
get the proper signal. So we also face a lot of difficulties.
The problem with our radars, it's all run with the geoclocks, and all of them will be. We need to set everything again from the beginning, so it's a little bit hard for the jamming.
Thank you, Tala. And Alia, this is a question from one of the students from GEMS International School, and she has requested that is it possible to develop a high altitude satellite based on artificial intelligence that can predict weather conditions and evaluate n numbers of meteorological variables in order to predict natural disaster?
So developing the satellite, it would remain the same. It's either at any altitude, it can have the opportunity for weather. However, we deal with it from the ground station aspect, from the remote sensing and imagery. Mentioning that if we have, for example, many historical data, we can contribute in the weather forecasting, for example, in terms of temperature, humidity, these aspects in the weather forecasting. Also the tropical storms now. We recently faces threatened by tropical storms, for example, in the eastern coast of the UAE and coast of Oman. It's really important that we have a deep learning and AI-based algorithm to detect these storms, to know their speed and to know their direction, where they're hitting. It's important to have a deep learning based algorithm, for example, to detect fires, forest fires, and to distinguish between the fire smoke and other type of haze. These are all application of deep learning in the weather forecasting. The altitude of the satellite, it doesn't matter unless if it's going to provide us a higher resolution. However, from the imagery side, we can take care of it.
I do agree with you, Alia, because when we do the analysis, I think with the more rigorous algorithms and deep learning networks, we can easily predict these kinds of weather anomalies. And one of our objective of our satellite itself is for the prediction of weather. That's especially on the sandstorm prediction, that we will be launching our own satellite by late 2020. So we use this rigorous algorithm and deep neural networks. And I hope we are teaching them the computational numerical methods, and this will help them to understand the fundamental concepts and then develop these algorithms in Python and other languages.
Computer vision is really important nowadays. So it's really important that you adopt computer vision, an aspect of machine learning. It's really quite interesting that universities nowadays, they introduced machine learning and computer vision and computer sciences in their courses. We even have the AI university launched recently, the Mohammed bin Zayed AI University, which take aspects of this. There's a lot of university even taking care of computer vision in their courses. I believe it's really important that the students take this, for example, as an elective or something, because the future now is depending on this application on computer vision, either in satellite, even the medicine industry, they're using deep learning for some sort of tumor detection. It's important that you adopt these type of subjects in your schools as well, the machine learning and computer vision.
Thank you, Elliot.
If I may add, we are constantly looking for machine learning developers, all right, to write the algorithms for different kind of problem and use cases. So the market is really short of such profession today, and there are enough projects to demand this kind of profession. You see, I think having more machine learning professionals would really be a good boost to the whole industry.
We will help you on this, and we have a good brain from our university to help you on this particular aspect. Again, to you, Jeffrey, we are hearing nowadays that Amazon and Noon is delivering goods to their house addresses. How far are we from implementing the artificial intelligent drones that can be used to deliver parcels from regional online stores to the correct addresses?
It requires different components to come together. So besides perfecting the drone delivery technology, I think it's more or less there. It's how you also plug it into UAS, unmanned traffic management system. So for it to function by itself, you know, you need to have a traffic like a corridor, you know, or a highway, you see, in the air, you know, to govern all this mission. So I think it could be years away. You know, we could do it on a pilot process. Hopefully the UAS traffic management system come up fast, you know, and AI would definitely be very important in powering that UTM system as well. Once you have that UTM system and you have a proven technology, and then even like for drone delivery, you have to have the supporting infrastructure for the landing zone, for the charging station, you know, for the battery, you know. So I can see in the next few years it happening, you know, in a wide way, maybe more than 10 years later.
Thank you. I think we have the Makani system, Makani numbers in every building in UAE, and that will help us to understand the more precise on the GPS locations, and which will help us to deliver. If I'm wrong, please correct me. Is that the one which will be moving ahead for this implementation of UTMS?
Yes, yes. You see, now even from my understanding, regulators are trying to put a UTM system. I think the civil aviation authorities are putting the UTM system for commercial drones, you see. So they're starting the framework already. So we have to move in different stages for commercial drones, to delivery drones, to UAM, the unmanned aerial mobility too, you see. But it's definitely coming, it's in the right direction. Yeah.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Talal, again to you. We have various autopilot systems employed in aircrafts. Would you be able to tell us about the current status of artificial intelligence in predicting the future weather to advanced precision level?
I talked about it briefly, and Sadia talked about it also. I'll repeat it again. As we said, we have 20 years worth of data. We have LiDARs in place, 3 LiDARs to be specifically. We have 2 LiDARs that will reach on the 19th. Actually, to detect the lower level of the wind. But the 3 LiDARs were installed in 2012, so we have more than sufficient data now. The whole idea is to plug this all in the system. I'm not the scientist here. There are many other teams under me. They are working with the machine learning. The machine, as I said, will predict the weather, but it will give us a prediction 24 hours in advance. This is actually the vision. I don't know how much we can get to that vision in order to give a better understanding for the air traffic controller and for the ATM system. Interestingly enough, that we are gathering now. We have a fatigue management campaign going on. We are gathering the stress level of the controllers, how stressed they are. We need to use that when the controller. So what we are intending to do is actually the ATM system will take over the role of the air traffic control, but this is not now. This is maybe way in future. Will take over the role of the air traffic controller when his stress level goes up. Taking over meaning sending information directly to the aircraft instead of the controller talks to the pilot. That is happening right now. We can send information from the ATM system to the aircraft. That is happening. We can see what the pilot dials in for speed and level, but it's not. It's underutilized, to be honest. But we expect this nearly 10 to 20 years. We don't know, to be honest.
Okay. See, actually, while I was teaching in airplane performance classes, I always say to the students, go as per what ISA table is about. Now I have to rethink before telling them whether you should go with ISA table or you should go with the real-time data.
For us, we prefer real-time data. I don't know about the university. I mean,
yeah, for theoretical purposes.
For
we can,
theoretical purposes,
we can go ahead with ISA, but
yeah.
Still for the real-time examples that would help the students to understand what is the weather prediction to the precise level.
We can cooperate with you. Your students can cooperate with us, and we can do a joint venture project on this. No problems.
Sure, thank you. And Maria, being a specialist in the cybersecurity and data protection, what measures do you take to protect your data that are specific to the aerospace industry?
Now I need to
can I have the slides of Ms. Maria?
To answer. I will be here. It's more simple for me. So when we talk about AE, we talked about a lot of data, and a lot of data means that data must be moved with ethics, and the ethics is one word that must be in your projects, because without ethics we don't have nothing, even data protection or cybersecurity. For that ethics, regulators, this is the case in Europe, have the General Data Protection Regulation since 2016, and have been a very high impact. Here in Dubai, this last summer, exists a proposed law for data protection that is very similar to this regulation. Very fast, I will not go deeply, but it is a regulation very, very complex, because we are talking about privacy of persons. So even in an airport or with drones, where is data? We are talking about almost people and our faces, our lives, everything. But in your projects, I want to go deeply there in Article 25, that is data protection by design and by default. So when you are thinking in something to development, you need to think in privacy by design. So you need to take care that technology will not affect the life of persons. So that is a subject that you can go deeply, study, and it's not only development technology and things very, very nice and for good, of course, but pay attention to this point. How to implement that regulation in organization, and in my case for the drones ecosystems, but it's not only for drones, it's for airports, it's for every company that have personal data. So how to do this? So the first step is identify what is the data that exists in the company. It's not only in the drones mission, must be in everywhere, because we have employee data, we have several data inside the company. And for identify this data, it was a huge work, because I have something here, sorry. It's like where is that data storage? How many time it's storage? After the law say after 6 months must be anonymized or deleted. So it's a huge work to do. Then you need to do the risk assessment. So you need to see if the rights of the data subjects, the people, are well protected. Then you do the gap analysis between what you have to what you need to have. And the implementation stage is to go to the company, or in your case, put the things working, and like policies, procedures, doing sensibilization to the employees, because this is a continuous thing to be in the company. I will not take more time, but the conclusion of this type of regulation is not a one-shot project. It's a continuous improvement. Not forget the privacy in your projects. It's something that must be culture inside of each sector, each company. About cybersecurity, this is some news that exists about drones and some attacks that exist. Of course, some news are more, sometimes it's fake news or political, but some of them is real. And as you know, that, as somebody said, that is the new oil, so must be protected. And the war today is not made by weapons, or of course it exists, but it's cybersecurity, is hacker data, and that is another point that you need to be very attention in your projects, that it's not only to develop, but thinking the possibilities that data can be stolen. In Europe, we have already some cybersecurity regulations, and even each country and here, I think, as I know, exists already a cybersecurity plan for the nation, and some activities are in the field. So, but you can go, find, and read. It's a good stage. Another sources you can search. I will. The presentation will be available. You can then read each paper. This is an example of the drones threats. So as you see, it's a lot of. You can have a lot of work with protecting from hackers. So you can go deeper and choose one of them. Of course, some of them have already solution, but probably you have a lot of work here. One of the important, and the study says that persons are the major risk in our organization for stealing data. It's a reality. We call it social engineering. So it's very important to train the people to be careful with the data, because can put a nation in risk. Imagine drones, videos in the bad hands. It can be very, very risky. This is another slide only to, you see that the majors attacks that can happen with drones. We have hijacking, jamming, espionage. And what companies can do for this? Must be invest in security by design and compliance. Must prove that the security solution is the correct. So when choose the suppliers, must be confident that the suppliers have a good security. Training human resource a lot. For example, and this point here, the policies and procedures based on ISO 27001. This is international normal standards that allow to see if your systems are good safety and to help the companies to do that. And finally, because it's important to monitor and continuous monitor the risks, so you need to do a risk assessment all the times and audits. Finally, this is only some techniques that sometimes applies to defend these. For example, we have installing firewalls, a sign-off noise ratio, follow-mo system or return home in our drones, the encrypted signal, for example, for GPS, and it's difficult because military are encrypted, but for commercial, the signal GPS and satellites are open. So it's very easy to be hacked. You need to think on parallel solution to do that thing. And or the companies, instead of have the security inside the company, they can transfer the risk to a security operations center. This is my vision is to have a center where you, for example, for drones, when you can have alerts and AI. It's something that helps to see if exists some risks or not. But this is not enough, and this is the last. Sorry for the time. Train people. That's the main thing to do, is to put in your classes always this team.
This is where we are coming into picture.
Exactly. And this that slide is it's something that, as I said in the beginning, ethics. It's the major thing that we need to see, because we don't have privacy or data protection or information security if we don't have ethics in our hearts and what we are doing for good. And that's it. Thank you. Sorry for the time.
Thank you, Maria. And this wonderful slide. I'm more interested on the drone perspective. Sean, can I have the video from Jeffrey? technologies?
The use cases are very important. We are here to solve problems. So also it's a cross integration of different industry. I think traditional industry barriers are already breaking down. Our pilot also wind turbine inspector. Our thermographer is also used to check various kind of assets. So we have to integrate. We have to cross pollinate, different kind of skills together, and in order to deliver the solution that is always faster, cheaper, and safer.
Thank you. And this, I hope, this will give you a wide spectrum of how computer science and artificial intelligence can help into the aviation industry. Now I'll open to audience. If you have any kind of questions, you can ask to the panelists.
Good morning, panelists. My question is, with the growing of the cybersecurity and the use of GDPR in the work of the cybersecurity areas, so with the growing of the cybersecurity, don't you think the hackers will have more and more eligibility to destroy this cybersecurity, even though we are finding ways to crack and destroy the hackers in the field of cybersecurity? They are having a one step further than us. What would the AI industry reply to this?
I think Maria can answer on this. Okay.
No, that's it. Okay, that's it.
Basically on how attackers or hijackers could use this artificial intelligence, which is what we have already shown in our introductory video, that hijackers will be using artificial intelligence as a pitfall, and they could harm the good technology.
If I understand, your question is how hackers can use AI to be the best one in this case. That is? No? Oh, sorry. We have a problem of communication.
Could you please
can
come
I
forward?
Can I go there? Or?
No, please come forward.
I mean that if the hackers, we are using GDPR as a cybersecurity, next cybersecurity level, but hackers are having one step further than us. What should we do to prevent them one step further than them?
Oh, yeah.
What should we do to prevent them?
Okay, now I understand. Thank you. Hackers are always in front of us. I think that the best thing is go to the authorities, try that the authorities catch the hackers, and then they come to our side and be a white hacker. It's not the best answer, but it's difficult because hackers are very intelligent and they arrange. It's a war. It's like the war in the earth 20 years ago. It's like that. Always when the enemy discover the way that they want to attack, that side is the same. So it's a war. It's always innovation. We can predict some attacks, but not all. Life is in security. We don't secure 100%. But people like you, I think that you are very young. Probably you are the future, and you can do that.
Thank you. I have one more question.
Yes, okay.
Please.
For me?
No.
Okay, you can go ahead with the question.
My second question is, we do remember the time when the Wright brothers invented the ability to fly, and now AI is taking over the area of the flying. And in the next 50 years, what does the 4 panelists sitting over here think about the other jobs that are going to be controlled by AI, and what can the humans like us do to overcome them and to be more intelligent than them? How can we do that?
For example, I think pilots, right? How fast pilots will be replaced, you see?
Here 50 years.
Correct. So I think pilots are the one, we need to train the human intelligence because humans are the one who create the AI, you see. So they work together as a complementary force. So I think we should use AI as our tool and not be fearful of AI.
So you meant that we should be working together with AI.
That's correct.
Thank you, sir, for my question.
Any other questions from the audience? Jalif.
So he has talked about hackers or other humans as a threat in artificial intelligence. What about artificial intelligence as a threat for us?
Again to you, Maria.
So, it's a tough question. So, if AI can do something warm to us, very bad, of course, because machines probably will be in that stage that we don't control them. This is a future question. This is what the world have afraid, that one day we don't control the machines. So the algorithmics must be ethics, and the regulation must be very ample, not large, with a large area, not strict only to AI, but to several subjects. So
basically you try to say that ethical cybersecurity is what basically we need for this future.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, you have anything on this particular perspective? Yes. Thank you. Any other question from the audience? Yeah.
Yes, I'll keep this short. You talked about machine learning. So we have a lot of developing software such as Python and C++ and all of that, which is important. But recently we had MATLAB come into university and they were talking about their software, and they have a lot of built-in toolboxes such as optimization toolboxes, machine learning. So apart from Python, how good is MATLAB in such as remote sensing or in for drone applications or even in air traffic services?
Okay, so I'll tell you from an engineering perspective, from person who left MATLAB and joined Python. So I have been using MATLAB since I was in the university. It's a great environmental programming language. However, for your information, MATLAB is not a real programming language. It utilizes C and C++ language at the back. It has a great ready available libraries, which is really good for university level.
Yep.
However, if you want a real practical, real life examples, practical solutions, you need to go into something more like a real language like C or Python. It's good for demonstration, it's good for proving ideas, it's good for these type of testing. However, if you want to implement your code or your algorithm, for example, in GPUs or in processors, you need a real programming language. For testing environments, you can use MATLAB, for example. However, what if you want to utilize the AI inside a drone, for example? You need a real programming language because processors nowadays, they utilize things like Python, for example, and C++. It's good for demonstration, it's good for testing. However, for real life examples, you would need to move a step further. I would really recommend you to use Python. It's an easy language. It's the #1 language in the world right now. It's an open source, and believe me, there are so many open libraries even better than the ones in the MATLAB, freely available in the Python. It's quite easy to understand, it's quite easy to process with it, it's not very hard to use. For example, I hate C++, it's quite complex for me. However, some other people, they find C++ much easier, for example, but I really definitely see Python as something that's easy. MATLAB, of course, is easier because everything is ready. However, if you want to take a step further, I would recommend you to utilize Python. Start correctly from the beginning so you won't suffer when you go in higher stages. For example, if you utilize MATLAB in the beginning and you need to shift to something else, you might struggle, and this is the struggle that I have been facing. However, I realized that using a real programming language from the beginning is important.
Thank you, Alia. Yes, ma'am.
What I am concerned is like we are talking about replacing humans, like you were talking about Amazon boy, delivery boys being replaced by drones and all. My concern is like, are we giving so much hype to AI that we try to find use cases where all we can replace humans with AI? Are we not making our lives complicated? Are we not looking into I feel like we are giving more importance to a robot and AI than to humans. That's my concern.
So, Jeffrey.
I will answer it from our actual experience of using drones in grid inspection. So basically, traditionally, helicopters or even climbers were used to inspect. So there were 700 people in the workforce who does this. Okay, when we introduce drone, many of these inspectors, they have this domain expertise, they are subject matter experts. So they have the technical expertise, they have the engineering knowledge, they became a retool and reskill as a drone pilot, or they became a data analyst as well. So although it may change one area of the scope of work, but there's also another opportunity that came up from it. So we saw a lot of retooling, reskilling of the workforce as an example in that real world application.
Jelis, could you pass the mic?
Yes, I think this question about AI replacing jobs has always been mentioned. Every time we go for a seminar and things like that, I think people are very fearful that their current jobs will be replaced. First, I'd like to say is that some of the jobs that will be created in the next 20 years or in the next 10 years does not exist yet. So there will be new jobs as technology moves. There will be new jobs that will be created. But having said that, having been in the digital world for some time now, we realize that we start with things like IoT, we go big data, and then you go AI. It becomes the buzzword. But I think to allude to this lady here when she mentioned about it, I think we're not focusing enough on human intelligence. And also not just human intelligence, but also human wisdom. So I think if some of us have got the opportunity to listen to the conversation or discussion between Elon Musk and Jack Ma. So maybe from an Asian perspective, we do not think that the AI will ever even come close to replacing the human being. Now, AI is doing a lot of work, but the little girl at 2 or 3 years old can be able to differentiate a kitten at whatever positions it sits. So what we are doing now is only general AI. We have not come to the stage of super AI, where the AI can start to think and feel like human beings. So for education moving forward, I think the most important thing is that we need to, like it's very clear, the values, human values, human ethics, these are the things that are so important to make us relevant and to be more human, to be more compassionate. And it's the thing that make us, in the sense, to be able to add value, is in the sense that we have the values that we've been taught to our students of what is meant to be ethical, what is meant to be, how can we be more creative. And like he says, the brain is intelligent. And that maybe in the long run, it's difficult to compete with the robots in their intelligence. But I think when we use our heart, that's where the wisdom of us sit. So it is in the sense that I think we should be focused. If there's a narrative or there's a conversation that we have to have, it's about human intelligence and human wisdom. And education should focus more to make human more human and expand on our creativity, our imagination, like what the Wright brothers do, and challenge and go into the future, be more futuristic. And I was just sharing with the panel, we are looking at today creating balloons that can go into space and have space travel, not at $1 million US, but at about $1,000 US. It's a new way of doing things, creating new jobs, new airspace tourism, not just instead of going all the way to like the engineer was saying, at different heights you see things at different levels. So it is an industry that can be created. And also at the same time I want to say is that what is not been emphasized in what we do, a lot of our efforts are going into agriculture. We all in Malaysia, we have big problem every year because of the open burning. There is also deforestation, there's a wildlife issue, there are also too much manpower in the plantation, a lot of immigrants coming in and all creating a lot of issues, pollution of the air and all that. But through AI and through good engineering, we'll be able to solve that problem, increase productivity of the crops, give us lower costs of products and so forth. So technology is not only, technology to as much an extent is creating a lot of deflation also. So I'm just basically saying is that this conversation continues, but I think one of the biggest solutions we want to do is that educate our youth in the human intelligence. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Recently a question was asked regarding Python and MATLAB. So something similar to that, there are many services which cloud platform like Azure and GCP are providing, where you directly upload your data set and the processing, the main coding happens by itself, and you get the testing portal. So are company interested in skills in those domains, like on cloud or Python from scratch? So what's the demand of the industry?
Okay, so you're interested in cloud computing. Am I understand correctly?
I'll give an example. So if we talk about image classification or object detection, we can code it in Scratch in Python and through our data, and we can train it. But again, so Azure or Google Cloud Platform are providing some tools where you can directly upload the image. It gets trained by its own. It's black box which algorithm is being used, that we don't know. But then you get a testing portal where you get API, and that can be directly linked with Raspberry Pi or whatever the hardware part. So our industry expecting skills in this area or in this coding from scratch area?
Okay, so both are important. If there's something ready in the market, let's utilize it. Let's make our life easier. Why do we have to complicate our lives where there is something ready, correct? For example, even when we build a satellite, we don't build, for example, from an iron from a piece. If there's something in the market, we go and buy it and utilize it. So both are important. For example, why do we need something from the scratch? If something ready has a default or, for example, has some problems, you can solve that problems if you know the basics and if you know how to deal with it. However, if there is something ready in the market, if there is something, for example, if there's Amazon Cloud Computing, there's the Google Cloud Computing. I've utilized the Google Cloud Computing by myself for object detection. I just uploaded my script and it just processed within their GPU. It's available, let's utilize it. It's better than me buying another computer with a GPU capability. So both are important. I think like you need to have the skills of utilizing both of them to have the power of and the good of both worlds in your hands.
And you could see that this is what Alia's, Alia, could you give some lights on this project?
Okay, so this is a combination of Khalifa Sat, Google Earth, and Dubai Sat 2 imagery to detect the electric towers. As you can see, there are some of the electric towers that are not detected because we did not have the enough data set to provide the computer. You need at least from 500 to thousands of data sets to process to detect an electric tower. I think there is another example. This is another example where we didn't train enough, but our computer was able to detect electric tower and count the numbers of these electric towers. This is detecting airplanes. Was at DXB, and so we took both datasets from DWC, the Al Maktoum Airport, and Dubai International Airports to detect airplanes and count their numbers. We provided very enough and large number of datasets, so we can see that the airplanes were detected successfully. That's all. Okay. So here we can see like different airplanes with different probability. That means how sure the computer it is an airplane or another object. So here's some of the examples of deep learning utilizing satellite imagery for object detection.
Thank you. I think, Alia, you used Python as the algorithm here?
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So as you was asking, so you can use different kinds of algorithms or whatever it may be. So that could help you to enhance the system. That is what even Alia was telling you. So I hope we'll conclude the session. Any other questions? I hope we will conclude this by saying that, as Captain Coase has said, we will continue with ethical artificial intelligence by considering human values for our future generations. So to thank our panelists, I would like to welcome our Dean of Engineering, Dr. Piyush Maheshwari, to hand over a memento to all of our panelists. I would like to give for Dr. Talal certificate and open it and give. This is for engineer Alia. Yeah, this is for Maria. Panel discussion. We'll keep it. We'll take you. We'll take it later. So we'll have a group picture with all the panelists. So can we have a group picture? Yeah. Yeah. You want to remove? Jellies. Sir, join us.